Yuki is a weak virgin who lives in a world where only women have special abilities. However, his weakling life takes a turn when a strong baddie turns him into her powerful servant. Now, he will have to serve her, but she will have to please his freaky desires every time he wants to charge for his services. The day they met, Yuki was walking home in silence, when suddenly a dense fog rolls in around him, and Yuki remembers how it's similar to the day he lost his sister. Before Yuki can react, the scenery around him vanishes. He finds himself standing in the demon capital, Mato. Panic grips him, and he quickly retrieves a survival manual from his bag. Its pages explaining that ordinary humans sometimes mishap into Mato by accident. The instructions are clear: stay calm, and wait for the demon defense force to arrive. He tries to follow the guidance, but suddenly, the demonic creatures, Shukis, emerge and attacks him. Yuki runs, narrowly dodging their claws as he searches for safety. Just as he is about to be cornered, a white-haired baddie appears to save him from the beast, and her presence radiates authority and strength. Her name is Kyoka, commander of the Demon Defense Forces. Kyoka eliminates the remaining Shukis without hesitation, and using her slaving ability, she turns a Shuki into a transportation and carries Yuki away. Just then, 3 more warriors arrive: Himari, Nei, and Shushu, members of the 7th Squad of the Demon Defense Force. They destroy the remaining monsters, and Nei scans the surroundings with her detection ability and warns of another swarm approaching. Kyoka orders her squad to engage the enemy, while she escorts Yuki to safety. While moving through the chaos, they find another human boy who has suffered a similar mishap. He wakes in tears, pleading for help to find his missing sister. The boy is escorted to safety, but Kyoka pushes forward, leading Yuki toward another nearby victim. Suddenly, a scream pierces the air. They rush toward the sound and find her surrounded by Shukis. Kyoka summons a temporary shield, protecting Yuki and the girl while she strategizes. Refusing to retreat, Kyoka makes a desperate decision, and she needs Yuki's help. Yuki hesitates, but her conviction inspires him. Determined not to be a burden, he agrees to assist in any way he can. She instructs the rescued girl to cover her eyes, then kneels before Yuki and offers him a contract to become her eternal chains.
Okay.
A slave bound by power and loyalty. Nervous and inexperienced, Yuki hesitates as she extends her finger, but with Shuki's closing in, he licks it, and power surges through his body. Himari, Shushu, and Nei arrive just in time to witness Yuki's transformation. His body twists into a monstrous form, radiating strength beyond human limits. With a single strike, he obliterates the Shukis. Kyoka mounts him, and together they carry the girl to safety. But the remaining Shukas merge into a colossal abomination. Kyoka commands Yuki to charge, and their combined strength cleaves the monster in 2. Himari watches in awe, questioning Yuki's potential. When the battle ends, Yuki reverts to human form, trembling at his newfound power. Kyoka dismisses her squad and speaks to him privately. She praises his courage, offers him a permanent position at her side, and while he hesitates at first, Kyoka seals the promise with an unexpected kiss. Kyoka explains that, as his master, she will have to reward him fulfilling his freaky desires every time he transforms. He starts tweaking, accidentally knocking her hat, but sees her reaction, showing that she's a total freak. She continues to kiss him in ways that any man would fold to, and Yuki chooses to accept it. After the kiss, Yuki struggles to process everything, unable to believe his first kiss has taken place in the demon capital, and Kyoka then expresses her ambition to become supreme commander and her need for Yuki's strength to achieve it. With renewed determination, Yuki agrees to serve as her slave, vowing to fight alongside her. They return to the 7th Squad dormitory, a structure designed around Mato's yin-yang principles, where Kyoka introduces him as the squad's new caretaker. While his duties involve maintaining the dorm, Kyoka makes it clear she will summon him for battle when needed. Yuki quickly realizes the cost of his new role of being constantly ordered around by his female squad mates. Nei, the most recent recruit before him, claims seniority and offers to help him adjust, which only irritates him further. Still, despite his frustrations, a faint spark of excitement lingers within him. For the first time, Yuki feels as though he has a place where he truly belongs. Then, Yuki's first day as a member of the Demon Defense Force's caretaker begins with cleaning the outside with his usual precision. Without warning, a Shuki erupts from the floor, but a protective barrier activates instantly, sending the creature flying backward. Nei casually walks by and explains that the 7th Squad's dormitory is located just behind the demon portal, so frequent Shuki incursions are normal. As she speaks, she details the structure of Mato, a vast demon city roughly the size of Tokyo, divided into 8 districts. Each squad is assigned to protect one district, leaving their 7th Squad responsible for District 7. Nei proudly declares that, as his senior, she'll guide him through his new duties. The words unsettle him, as she's technically younger than him. While they talk, Yuki gestures toward the Shuki writhing on the ground and wonders aloud if they can just leave it there. Before Nei can answer, Himari storms in, unleashing a deafening barrage from her Gatling gun arm, and the creature is shredded instantly. Yuki stares, shocked by the reckless gunfire so close to them, but Himari doesn't apologize. Instead, she scolds him for chatting on his first day, then casually demands breakfast within the next few minutes.
Whoa, calm down, Jamal.
Irritated by her bossy tone, Yuki mutters under his breath, but Himari reminds him sharply that he should be grateful, as it's only thanks to Kyoka's decision that he was allowed to join their elite unit. Swallowing his frustration, Yuki retreats to the kitchen and prepares a full-course breakfast. Shushu cheers excitedly as she digs in. Kyoka calmly accepts his cooking, and even Himari, despite her pride, requests a second portion. Yuki feels a surge of satisfaction at their approval, until reality hits him that his contributions so far amount to little more than being the squad's maid. Frustrated, he asks Kyoka about his role, and Kyoka calmly explains that she'll summon him for combat only when necessary. necessary. Until then, his duties involve maintaining the dorm. Yuki opens his mouth to protest, but Himari's blade suddenly presses against his neck. Before tensions escalate, Kyoka intervenes and reminds Yuki that this dorm is reserved for female warriors, but his exceptional cleaning skills make him valuable. However, she warns him coldly that if he ever tries anything freaky, she will personally rip off his glizzy. Later that day, Yuka is at the dorm's watchtower to admire the sprawling view of Mato, but below at the private hot springs, Himari enters to take a bath.
Yeah, boy.
Yuki panics, scrambling to hide. But from behind, Shushu suddenly appears. Using her ability to shrink and grow at will, she claims she's been observing him all morning and teases him about spying like a creep. Before Yuki can explain himself, she snaps a photo and declares that he's a creep. He panics and pleads for her to delete the picture, but Shushu refuses. Instead, she announces that he'll now be her secondary slave, just like he is to Kyoka. Cornered, Yuki begrudgingly agrees. Soon he finds himself cleaning Shushu's messy room while she lounges on her bed, flipping through romance comics. Spotting her phone nearby, Yuki makes a desperate attempt to erase the incriminating photo, but Shushu swiftly snatches it back. She catches him holding her underwear mid-reach, and he freezes in horror, expecting her to scream, but she simply shrugs. To Shushu, Yuki isn't a man, he's a pet, useful only for cleaning and chores. Yuki hesitates, then asks if she's seriously fine with him washing her underwear. Without answering, Shushu smirks, snaps another picture, and proudly adds it to her growing collection of blackmail material. Defeated, Yuki leaves her room, only to stumble upon Kyoka and Himari sparring outside. Kyoka demonstrates precise techniques, explaining that a perfect attack should be swift, sharp, and relentless, leaving no room for the enemy to counter. As if on cue, Ashuki charges through the gate, and she instantly slices it down in one fluid motion, proving her dominance as squad leader. Yuki watches in awe, reminded of the dangerous world he now lives in, and vows silently never to anger her. Just then, Nei taps his shoulder, instructing him to look after Shushu while she attends a meeting with Kyoka and Himari. Yuki protests, but Nei insists that Shushu is actually nice. Alone with Shushu again, Yuki is immediately put to work massaging her back. Initially frustrated, he's quickly distracted by his vantage point, silently debating whether to complain or remain quiet. Shushu casually asks why he's so skilled at massages, and Yuki explains he learned from caring for his sister. She shares that she also has sisters, but after losing her father, she was raised in an all-girls school. It explains her curiosity about him and her decision to make him hers. Yuki protests, confused by her logic, but Shushu insists that fun is what matters most. As to her, fighting Shukis feels like starring in an action comic. After the massage, she challenges him to a game.
What do you mean by that?
Yuki agrees, confident he'll win, but she adds a twist that the loser must remove a layer of clothing. Determined to win, Yuki plays seriously, but loses round after round, eventually stripped down to his boxers. Shushu demands he remove those too. As she looms closer, Yuki panics and tries to talk his way out of it, warning her that seeing a man's body might damage her. Shushu only laughs and enlarges her form, effortlessly overpowering him. Pinning him down like a doll, she pulls off his boxers, then bursts into uncontrollable laughter at his little tick-tock. The humiliation burns deep, but before Yuki can react, a massive explosion rattles the dorm. A gigantic Shuki has breached the shield, cracking its barrier with a single blow. Shushu orders Yuki to stay back, before growing to match the creature's size. She trades blows with the monster, initially gaining the upper hand, but when a second, even larger Shuki arrives, she's struck hard and begins to falter. Yuki wants to help, but can't transform without Kyoka's command. Then he remembers that when they formed their contract, he gained power by licking her hand. Desperate, he sprints to Kyoka's quarters, searching for anything carrying her scent. First, he tries her gloves, and it gives nothing. Then her shirt, but only a partial transformation. Finally, he finds her boots, inhaling the concentrated scent and triggering a full transformation. Returning to the battlefield, Yuki's half-changed form earns Shushu's laughter, but he ignores her, instructing her to hold the Shuki in place. Surprised by his confidence, she obeys. Channeling all his borrowed strength, Yuki lands a single devastating punch, destroying the monster instantly. Exhausted, he falls from the tower, landing awkwardly between Shushu's plumpy plots. She doesn't scold him. Instead, she teases him for his stubbornness, amused by his defiance despite his weakness. When the rest of the squad returns, Kyoka massages Yuki's injuries as her treat for him. Yuki asks about the damaged shield, and Kyoka explains that it's crafted from enchanted peaches and will regenerate automatically as long as the damage is minor. Before dismissing them, Kyoka lectures Shushu for her recklessness and orders her to assist Yuki with housework as repayment. As the others leave, Shushu hops onto Yuki's back, flashing a wicked grin as she shows him yet another incriminating photo. Yuki stares in disbelief, realizing there's no escape. Shushu meanwhile walks away humming, already planning her next scheme. On another day, Kyoka decides to take Yuki to visit another squad through the magic portals, which connects to Yamagaya City. Yuki blinks in surprise when Kyoka changes into her casual clothes. Seeing her out of uniform startles him for a moment at how pretty she is, but he quickly regains composure, awkwardly commenting that it feels nice to be in the human world again. Kyoka, however, tells him to take in as much fresh air as he can, because this little vacation won't last long. Meanwhile, back at the dormitory, Shushu is searching for Yuki but finds Nei in the storage room instead. When she asks where Yuki went, Nei casually informs her that Kyoka took him out. Upon hearing this, Shushu realizes what day it is. Back in the human world, Kyoka leads Yuki to a quiet graveyard. She stops in front of a large tombstone and explains that this is the memorial for those who died during the Gasan Mountain incident at Oisawa, where demons once attacked. Among the demons, there was one in particular, the Unicorn, that managed to escape that day. Kyoka was still young young back then, but she's never forgotten. Standing before the memorial, she confesses that this is one of the reasons she's so determined to fight demons. After paying respects, Kyoka is ready to return, but Yuki gently stops her, suggesting they take a short break. He points out a parfait shop nearby, insisting she should try it. At first, she hesitates, but eventually she agrees to a quick stop. As they sit down, Yuki opens up, telling her that he understands her feelings more than she realizes. He also lost his sister in a demon attack, so he knows the weight of regret and revenge. But he warns her that if she keeps obsessing over it, she'll burn herself out before ever reaching her goal. For the first time, Kyoka sighs softly and offers him a small smile. When the parfait arrives, Kyoka takes a bite and seems genuinely enjoying something for once. Yuki, meanwhile, is left dumbfounded. Seeing her smile reminds him of his sister's smile from long ago, stirring up old memories he thought he'd buried. But suddenly, Kyoka's phone rings with an urgent warning. She immediately orders Yuki to transform so they can return to the dormitory as fast as possible. Upon arrival, Kyoka instructs him to change clothes, but then she tells him to follow her instead. Kyoka allows him to remove her clothes before she changes into her uniform, granting him a plotful view that would any man drool. Once Kyoka finishes dressing, the situation turns serious again. Reports come in about multiple craters suddenly appearing and demons pouring out of them. Nei quickly scans the surroundings using her detection skill and confirms that there are no humans in the area, and it's essentially a demon lair. Yuki, now fully hyped, prepares himself alongside the rest of the team as they head toward the site. Then they arrive at the battlefield. With Shushu transforming into her giant form, she smashes the crater like crushing an ant's nest. Himari follows up with her Gatling gun arm, mowing down the remaining demons. For any that survive, Kyoka and Yuki are ready to finish them off. But just as Kyoka finishes giving her instructions, an unexpected attack strikes from behind. The unicorn demon appears, and riding atop it is a mysterious woman who suddenly fires a devastating blast at Himari, knocking her down. Kyoka immediately steps forward, demanding answers. The woman calmly introduces herself as someone who despises the demon defense force and wields a magic peach of her own, granting her immense power. She then engages Kyoka in a fierce battle, her strength and speed matching Kyoka's blow for blow. In the middle of the fight, the woman begins talking about her handsome little brother and how she's looking for him. When a lesser demon suddenly approaches her, she glares at it with such deadly intent for interrupting her story. But Yuki watches, and something about that deadly glare stirs memories of his sister. As the woman continues fighting, she taunts Kyoka's group, saying they know nothing about the true power of the demon world. She turns her attention to Yuki, but when her eyes meet his, there's a brief pause, a strange flicker of recognition between them. That momentary distraction allows Kyoka to strike, freeing Yuki from the woman's grasp. However, instead of continuing the fight, the mysterious woman retreats atop her unicorn demon. Furious, Kyoka orders Yuki to chase after her, but he chooses instead to help the injured Himari and Shushu. Seeing them unconscious, Kyoka realizes she needs to prioritize their safety and calls off the pursuit. Back at the dormitory, Himari and Shushu are treated for their wounds, and later that night, behind closed doors, Yuki receives what Kyoka calls his reward, in the form of getting his oranges juiced by Kyoka's feet. While casually teasing him, Kyoka strokes his face with her feet and discusses the mysterious demon woman. She admits she has never encountered anyone like her before. Yuki, still recovering, says the woman looked eerily similar to his sister, who disappeared years ago after a demon attack. Kyoka speculates that the woman might be searching for her own brother, which could explain her reaction to seeing Yuki. Later that evening, Yuki prepares dinner, still lost in thought about the possibility that the demon woman is truly his long-lost sister. His inner turmoil is interrupted when Nei lightly scolds him for letting the pot overflow. Surprisingly, Nei doesn't stay mad. Instead, she thanks him sincerely for his help during the battle and promises to support him in the future. Yuki smiles and reassures her, calling her sweet and telling her not to worry about him. Meanwhile, in the demon realm, the mysterious woman Aoba is seen reporting to her leader, while a short-haired girl named Coco tends to her wounds, licking them for healing. Aoba already knows the truth that Yuki is indeed her brother, but she wonders why he's allied with Kyoka. Back at the dorm, Yuki is bathing when Shushu suddenly sneaks up behind him, looking completely recovered and mischievous as ever. She playfully asks him to turn around, teasing him relentlessly. Yuki hesitates, knowing this is probably one of her traps for another blackmail photo. But when she starts washing his back, he assumes she's wearing a swimsuit and turns around, only to be met with her assets in full view. Flustered, Yuki bolts out of the bath in panic and embarrassment, only to run straight into Himari, who's in the middle of taking off her peach protectors. Then she transforms into a raging beast, ready to chop Yuki into pieces. Before chaos can erupt, however, a portal suddenly opens in the hallway. From it step out two members of Squad 6, Tenka and Yokiho, who quickly tease Yuki for being Team 7's new slave. The two sit down with Kyoka's team, and Kyoka immediately raises an eyebrow, demanding to know why they are here. Tenka smiles faintly and gets straight to the point. She explains that she is here because of an urgent warning from headquarters. There is a demon in human form, an exceptionally powerful one. The higher-ups have ordered all squads to cooperate if another attack happens. Before Yuki can even process this, Yachiho turns her piercing psychotic eyes toward her own sister Himari, and mocks her younger sister for passing out during the last mission, disgracing the Azuma family name and humiliating them all. Himari clenches her fists, trembling with anger, but before she can lash out, Kyoka steps in. She has also heard about Squad 3 being attacked twice by the same human-like demon, and she makes it clear that working together is necessary. Yachiho, however, isn't finished. A cold, mocking laugh escapes her as she turns back to Himari, dismissing her as nothing more than dead weight. Himari's frustration burns hotter, but Kyoka notices immediately and intervenes before it jeopardizes the mission. She proposes a one-on-one duel between the two teams to test the strength of each squad's fighters. Tenka's lips curve into a playful grin, clearly intrigued, and she agrees to return with her full team for the challenge. After Squad 6 departs, Himari turns to Kyoka, her expression desperate and determined. Without hesitation, she begs for help, pleading to use Yuki for training. Kyoka agrees, but warns her that victory will require strength, discipline, and sacrifice. Himari nods firmly, declaring without words that she'll do whatever it takes. Later, Himari drags Yuki outside to begin training. Through demonstration and gestures, she explains that her ability is learning. By observing, copying, and adapting, she can replicate techniques that aren't her own. And her current goal is simple: to study and master Kyoka's power. Together, they venture into a nearby demon lair for practice. Yuki makes physical contact with Himari, triggering his transformation, but this time the form is different. It's not an exact replica of Kyoka's power. Yuki's new form is faster but weaker in raw strength. Still, Yuki's improved speed sparks a surge of confidence in Himari. Watching him fight, she begins to believe she can defeat Yachiho. By the time they finish training, both are exhausted, but Himari's body suddenly shows him her peach cover, which shocks her. Yuki stammers, quickly averting his gaze, and awkwardly explains that Kyoka's power has a reward system, and without a reward, his boosted form won't stabilize. Himari hesitates, her cheeks turning crimson, before reluctantly agreeing to provide the reward and suffocate him in it. Afterward, Yuki suggests that Himari consider switching to a different ability, but she snaps at him, saying that it's not that simple. Her power requires compatibility and cannot be changed on a whim. Yuki mutters something under his breath about her reward system being awkward, but Himari ignores him and reveals her deeper reason for fighting. She reveals the truth that she comes from the prestigious Azuma family, renowned for producing generations of powerful warriors. But compared to her sisters, she has always been considered weak, a failure who constantly shames the family name. That crushing burden drives her to work harder than anyone else. Hearing her honesty, Yuki stops teasing and nods in quiet acknowledgement. The tension between them softens, and he promises to help her, but without letting her get too full of herself. They continue strategizing late into the evening. The greatest obstacle remains Yachiho's terrifying ability: time manipulation. Meanwhile, far away, Yachiho pauses mid-conversation, instinctively sensing Himari's plotting and savoring the thought of crushing her weak little sister. The next day, Himari brings Yuki out for even more intense training. She shares her theory that Yachiho's time manipulation is powerful, but consumes tremendous stamina. If they can force her to burn energy quickly, an opening will appear. She also notices Yachiho's strange charging pose whenever she powers up, a vulnerability they can exploit. Yuki suggests focusing entirely on speed to minimize Yachiho's chances of activating her ability. Himari agrees, instructing him to channel his power into his legs. His movements grow much faster, but his attacks lose force. When his transformation ends, Himari gently pats his head, silently acknowledging his improvement but reminding him there's still a long way to go. Later, they shift locations for the next phase of training. This time, Kyoka supervises, observing quietly before stepping in. She shows Himari the importance of fighting alongside Yuki, not merely commanding him from a distance. The realization clicks instantly. Himari climbs onto Yuki's back, guiding him directly, and his strength surges. Their attacks become sharper, faster, and far more efficient. Day after day, they train relentlessly, refining this technique until their movements synchronize perfectly. Every successful session ends with Yuki receiving his usual rewards, which he never complains about. Finally, the day of the duel arrives. Squad 6 shows up early with Tenka, Yachiho, and Sahara. While Himari and Shushu are bathing before the battle, Sahara casually slips into the water and falls asleep on the spot, surprising them. After bathing, Himari heads out, only to be intercepted by Yachiho. Her older sister leans close and mocks Himari without needing many words. For a moment, Himari's confidence wavers, but Yuki arrives just in time, his steady gaze reassuring her of the strength she has gained through training. Outside the dorm, Squad 10's Gunner arrives as the appointed judge. Raising her hands, she summons a massive protective barrier around the arena, ensuring no combatant can suffer fatal injuries. Finally, the duel begins. Himari and Yachiho face each other, the tension between them suffocating. The rule is simple: fight until one side can no longer continue or surrenders. Yachiho moves first, mocking her sister relentlessly, confident in her victory, but Himari uses her arrogance against her. With Yuki's enhanced speed, they launch a surprise attack straight out of the gate, catching Yachiho off guard. Yet Yachiho smirks, unfazed. Time fractures when she manipulates it, and the battlefield resets in an instant. But Himari has trained for this. Anticipating Yachiho's manipulation, she pivots instantly, changing her strategy mid-motion. With Yuki at her side, she braces herself to counter Yachiho's time-warping power head-on. Earlier, after the bath, Himari, determined to learn everything she can about Yachiho, asks Sahara whether her sister trained, and Sahara, wearing her usual tired demeanor, reveals that Yachiho has not practiced at all, maintaining her carefree attitude as if the duel requires no effort. Shushu's remark about Yachiho not taking Himari seriously ignites a quiet storm within her, and that knowledge becomes fuel to defeat her. When the duel begins, Himari and Yuki immediately implement their secret strategy, one they have practiced relentlessly. Yuki propels himself high into the air with incredible speed, his movements sharp and precise. Yachiho, confident and composed, raises her modified handgun and prepares to activate her signature ability, intending to rewind time and gain control of the battle. But Himari anticipates this. The moment Yachiho does her aiming stance, Himari redirects Yuki's trajectory, leading him into a swift, unexpected dive. The sudden maneuver allows them to land another hit, striking Yachiho directly. Despite the impact, Yachiho responds without hesitation, rewinding time to negate the damage, and carefully observing Himari's movements. This time, she prepares to use her time stop, aiming to freeze the battlefield entirely and secure an advantage. Yet, when time resumes, Yuki and Himari are already outside her effective active range. The wasted energy irritates her, but it is exactly what Himari intends. Using Yuki's height and speed, Himari maneuvers around Yachiho in rapid erratic patterns, forcing her sister to spin and track constantly. The tactic disrupts Yachiho's rhythm, making it harder for her to predict their approach. Himari's determination burns brighter with every passing second, and Yuki, sensing her unwavering will through their connection, feels empowered by her resolve. The key to their strategy lies in confusion and misdirection, maintaining relentless movement while attacking from unpredictable angles. Through observation, Himari has memorized Yachiho's patterns, identifying the specific stances she uses to activate her techniques. By exploiting these habits, Himari forces Yachiho into making predictable responses, gradually taking control of the flow of battle. However, Yachiho is far from careless. Beneath her twisted composure lies a deeper layer of preparation, and she unveils her hidden technique, Prime Time. With this ability, she extends her temporal control far beyond its usual limits, stopping time for more than 5 full seconds. In that suspended moment, Yachiho calmly aims and fires twice, once at Yuki, once at Himari. When time resumes, both collapse from the unexpected strike. For a brief moment, Yachiko stands victorious, but the effort comes at a cost. The extended use of Prime Time drains her energy severely, leaving her movement slower and less coordinated. While Himari is about to give up, Yuki fires her up, pointing out how Yachiko is weak. Himari, though shaken, sees the weakness Yuki is saying. With Yuki's strength still coursing through their connection, Himari forces herself to rise. Her body trembles from exhaustion, but her mind remains sharp, refusing to accept defeat. Her sister's strength has always towered over her, but this time, Himari carries the weight of her own determination and Yuki's trust behind her. Yachiho prepares another shot, assuming her signature pose once more, but Himari alters her tactics. Instead of staying mounted on Yuki's back, she leaps off mid-charge, disappearing from Yachiho's direct line of sight. Distracted, Yachiho fires instinctively, hitting nothing. In the same instant, Himari emerges from below her, shooting her directly in the neck before she can react. The hit lands perfectly. Yachiho staggers, disbelief flashing across her face before she finally collapses, her body sinking into the arena floor. Shushu and Nei erupt with excitement, cheering loudly for Himari's victory. Kyoka observes silently with quiet pride at the tactical brilliance Himari displays. Even Tenka, usually detached, acknowledges the skill behind the victory, advising Sahara to treat the loss as an opportunity to improve. Then the referee heals them, and Yachiho, regaining consciousness, recalls the times Himari fell ill from training, her relentless determination dismissed as naivety. But witnessing this growth firsthand, she recognizes the strength Himari has gained. Softly, she congratulates Himari for the win, and offers her to return to their family as equals. Himari, however, has no intention of returning home, and states that her team is her home. Her refusal silently shatters Yachiho's confidence, but Sahara and Tenka quickly comfort her, knowing well that her sharp pride often hides her complicated affection. Back at the dormitory, the aftermath unfolds quietly. Himari, still flushed with adrenaline, reaches for a drink, but when Yuki approaches to grab his own, she pulls him close and kisses him deeply, sharing the cool water between them. The intimate act serves as his unspoken reward for supporting her through the fight. Elsewhere, Yachiho and Tenka exchange reflections on the duel, and Tenka scolds her for underestimating her opponent. Yachiho silently recognizes that Yuki's lack of raw strength prolongs the battle, yet she grudgingly acknowledges the cleverness of his coordination with Himari. Meanwhile, Shushu searches for Himari and Yuki, only to stumble upon the two still locked in a passionate embrace of tongue wrestling, their closeness unrestrained after the intensity of combat. Then it's time for Sahara to go against Shushu, but unbeknownst to these demon hunter, beyond Ginna's protective shield, powerful demons are watching them, waiting to strike. With Sahara facing Shushu, both rely on sheer muscle power, and the atmosphere grows tense as the match begins. Shushu's heart pounds faster, her motivation surging, not just for victory, but for the thought of impressing Yuki. She promises herself she will give everything to win. From the start, the two decide to go purely hand-to-hand battle, and Sahara's incredible strength combined with her surprising speed makes her an unpredictable opponent, while Shushu's towering presence and raw power give her a commanding edge. Their clash resembles two fighters locked in a cage, neither willing to back down, each strike landing with forceful intent. But Sahara, being the lazy, low-cardio bum, gets tired quickly. Realizing she can't drag the fight out, declares that she will unleashing her true ability, the Mad Sheep. Shushu, equally eager, responds in kind, activating her own transformation with paradigm shift and enlarging her body dramatically. Excitement surges through Sahara. Her energy spikes as she invokes her crazy sheep form, entering Phase 3, a state that grants her both greater speed and strength. When Shushu slams her to the ground with a brutal punch, Sahara recovers instantly, springing upward with a stinging slap across Shushu's face. Sahara's ability thrives on timing. The shorter she maintains her power bursts, the more devastating her strength becomes. She exploits Shushu's increased size, turning her larger frame into an easy target. Suddenly, jagged rocks erupt from beneath the arena, a clever distraction that forces Shushu off balance. In that instant, Sahara delivers a crushing strike to her gut, sending her sprawling to the ground. Yuki's heart sinks as he watches Shushu fall, but she forces herself upright, refusing to surrender. Sahara taunts her silently with a confident smirk, but Shushu's expression hardens, as this battle is far from over. Her thoughts drift briefly to her schoolmates' teasing conversations about romance. They once told her she would eventually understand what it means to care deeply for a boy she likes, to fight for more than pride alone. At the time, she dismissed their words, but now, standing before Sahara, aching yet unbroken, she finally understands. She wants Yuka to see her strength, and she wants him to watch her win. Sahara signals for her to shrink her form for better mobility, but Shushu refuses. She embraces the chaos, preferring bold, overwhelming swing attacks to subtle tactics. Roaring with determination, she grows even larger than Eren's final Titan form and launches herself high into the air, crashing down towards Sahara like a falling meteor. Sahara tries to push back, but is seized mid-movement, slammed forcefully into the ground as Shushu pins her beneath her massive frame. For a moment, Sahara appears defeated, her body limp against the arena floor. Shushu gestures to Gina to confirm the knockout. But before the first count begins, Sahara's body jolts upright unnaturally. Her eyes are half closed, her consciousness seemingly gone, yet her stance shifts into perfect form. Yuki stares in shock while Yachiho simply smirks, fully aware of what is happening. She explains that this is Sahara's hidden power. When her body shuts down while her ability remains active, her instincts take over completely, granting her terrifying control. It is a state of pure feral combat, a rampage without restraint just like the crybaby goat Zenitsu. Sahara lunges forward with unstoppable force, striking Shushu repeatedly in a blur of motion. The sheer intensity overwhelms Shushu's defenses, leaving her breathless and battered until she finally collapses under the relentless assault. The round is over, and Sahara wins. Gina rushes to heal Shushu, but in the process her shirt tears apart, causing her twin gel-like orbs to bounce free. Nei immediately covers her, and Kyoka calls Shushu back to the sidelines to rest and recover. Shushu tries to hide her emotions, but once away from the crowd, tears well in her eyes. Losing in front of Yuki stings more than she wants to admit. Inside her room, she sinks into silence, fighting the feeling of worthlessness. When Yuki knocks softly on her door, offering reassurance, she brushes him off, telling him to forget about her loss. Yet Yuki's words linger, as he believes she isn't weak, that her strength is real, and that she had nearly won. Her heart wavers. Desperate to shift her focus away from the sting of defeat, she asks Yuki to close his eyes. He hesitates but complies, only to be stunned when Shushu kisses him softly, stealing his breath and leaving him speechless. She doesn't explain directly, only hinting that she wants to replace her sadness with something unforgettable. Outside, Nei scouts the perimeter but senses nothing unusual, until she spots two mysterious women standing on a cliff. One with long black hair makes sudden eye contact, and Nei feels her mind invaded by an unfamiliar presence. A chilling warning echoes inside her thoughts that danger is near. Moments later, a horde of demons emerges from the shadows, swarming toward the arena. Gina raises her shield, confident in its strength, but the situation escalates when one of the demons steps forward, a towering figure unlike the rest, speaking with human-like intelligence. With a single strike, it shatters Gina's barrier completely. Kyoka immediately calls for an end to the duel, and this is turned into a real battle. Tenka moves swiftly, evacuating Gina and Nei to safety, while the others prepare for combat. Shushu, newly healed, re-enters the field alongside Sahara, their rivalry temporarily forgotten as they fight together against the swarm. Himari confronts the humanoid demon, the leader, but it dismisses her, declaring she isn't the one it seeks. Refusing to let it escape, she launches an attack, only to be struck back as the demon summons lightning. But Yachiho shoves Himari out of harm's way, and taking command of the confrontation. Himari, understanding her intent, regroups with Kyoka and Yuki instead. Together, they devise a plan to make Yuki their trump card. Himari and Kyoka combine their powers with his, triggering a transformation akin to a final evolution. Yuki's body surges with energy, his speed amplified, and his strength magnified beyond recognition, turning him into the warlord. On another front, Yachiho faces the humanoid demon alongside Tenka, the leader of Ground 6. Gina, ever the devoted fan, can't bear being away from the action, so Nei allows her to link senses, letting her witness the battle through her perspective. Through Nei's eyes, Gina watches Kyoka's extraordinary display, not merely a result of power, but years of relentless training and sacrifice to earn her leadership. As the fight escalates, Yachiho's agility saves her repeatedly, but the demon quickly adapts to her tactics. A devastating explosion tears through the field, severing Yachiho's arm and disabling her signature pose. Pain ripples through her body, yet she refuses to yield. Using her legs, she reconstructs the gesture, activating her ability and reversing time to restore her arm. But the price is steep, and her energy drains rapidly, leaving her vulnerable. The demon readies another massive blast, but before it can strike, Tenka steps forward. With a serene smile and quiet confidence, she reveals the pile of fallen demons behind her, announcing without words that the field is clear. Now the true battle between the two leaders begin. The demon regards Tenka and the defense force as bums, believing they are too weak to be worth its time. With a sudden burst of lightning, it launches an attack, forcing Tenka to evade through her portals. She reappears behind it, delivering a high kick, but the demon effortlessly dodges and counters with an explosive strike. Tenka avoids it once more, using her portal strategically, and summons a miniature black hole to wound the creature slightly. Enraged by the injury, the demon unleashes its full power in a devastating strike, but Tenka swiftly teleports behind it and lands a powerful punch to its face, propelling it into the skies. Using her black hole ability at its peak, she engulfs the demon completely, erasing it from existence, and the battle ends almost instantly. From a distance, Yuki and the others watch with pride, though Yuki feels an uneasy fear at Tenka's overwhelming strength. It amazes him how Kyoka wants to be the leader of all of them, including someone as powerful as Tenka, and Kyoka brushes off the difficulty with confidence. Hearing that, Yuki also wants to be a hero here in Mato. Afterward, the team gathers for a quick meeting. Nei reports that another human demon is still roaming free, but admits she can't locate it despite her supervision. Himari also reports finding no traces, Shushu suggests that Tenka's black hole ability might have erased potential clues. Nei apologizes for her failure, but Kyoka and Tenka reassure her, praising her for locating 2 demons before the attacks began, which prevented worse damage. Tenka then praises Yuki for his contributions, recognizing his impact during the fight. Gina, who witnesses his performance, finally acknowledges his worth and even asks for his autograph. Meanwhile, Himari thanks Yachiho for saving her, but Yachiho, flaunting her usual ego, teases her to return to the family, but Himari rejects the offer again, leaving Yachiho silently sulking. Tenka and Kyoka both agree to call the fight a tie, and the group decides to return home. That evening, Yuki heads for a bath, while Himari and Kyoka join him, helping him wash as if pampering a king for his reward. Kyoka presses herself against his back, massaging him while asking about his exhaustion, and Yuki admits the battle has drained him after having 2 master at once. She hints at deepening their bond but decides to let him rest for now. Later that night, Nei sketches the 2 human demons she spotted earlier. Her drawings make them appear cuter than they really are, leaving Yuki speechless. Himari whispers that the headquarters will release the official sketches later. Kyoka, however, senses that these 2 demons are unlike any they have encountered before. In his room, Yuki ponders the mysterious demon resembling his sister, questioning why she has not appeared again, and whether she belongs to a different group. Lost in thought, he drifts to sleep, unaware that later that night, Tenka quietly enters his room with sinister intention. Days later, Yuki, Kyoka, and Himari visit Group 6's dormitory. Tenka greets them warmly and instructs Himari to meet the other members, while she discusses strategy with Kyoka. Tenka asks Yuki to assist with house chores, which he accepts without hesitation. However, the dorm is unexpectedly clean compared to Group 7's, leaving him only with laundry duty, specifically, washing the girls' plot covers. Despite his best efforts, he struggles to maintain composure and flushes deeply throughout the task. Afterward, Yuki delivers a package to Yachiho's room. Nervous about her reaction, he quietly knocks, but with no response, he steps inside to leave the parcel. What he sees stuns him. The room is covered in photographs of Himari, from tiny framed pictures to massive posters. Shaken, he silently places the package on the nearest table and hurries out. In the living room, Yuki encounters Sahara sleeping on the couch, looking like an absolute snack. Flustered, he tries to cover her, but Sahara instinctively pulls him in, trapping him against her. Being a wrestler, she pins him between her legs, leaving him torn between discomfort and unexpected sensations. Eventually, Sahara wakes up and helps Yuki organize the laundry into the members' rooms. Together, they enter the gym where they find Himari observing Yachiho's workout. Sahara teases Himari, asking if she looks up to Yachiho despite their rivalry. Hesitant at first, Himari admits she admires Yachiho's skills and achievements, which motivate her to surpass her someday. Sahara then shares her theory about the magic peach, suggesting that the power it grants varies by individual. According to her, Himari's learning ability reflects her desire to grow like Yachiho, while Yachiho's time-based power symbolizes her wish to spend more time with her sister. Embarrassed, Himari dismisses it as overthinking, though Yuki finds Sahara's theory surprisingly convincing. After Yachiho's workout, Himari offers her a towel as a rare gesture of kindness, but Yachiho refuses to acknowledge it. Sahara chuckles, wondering aloud what Himari's reaction would be if she ever discovers Yachiho's room, and the thought makes Yuki uneasy, advising against getting her hopes up. Meanwhile, in a separate room, Kyoka and Tenka discuss the demon threat. Although there are no signs of immediate danger, Kyoka insists on striking first instead of waiting. Tenka agrees but expresses concern about the unknown number of human demons. While Kyoka assumes Tenka has already defeated 4, Tenka warns that their battle is far from over. Elsewhere, a hidden base camp houses the remaining human demons. One of the figures Nei spotted, along with the recently defeated Reiren, is present. Thanks to a black-haired girl named Shikoku, Reiren survives. Shikoku, having already crushed Group 3 in an earlier encounter, analyzes the battle carefully. Reiren argues he could have won against Tenka and demands the presence of Joryu, a towering Amazonian warrior with white hair. Shikoku silences him, stating that their true strategy only begins once all 8 members assemble. Despite Reiren's complaints about involving other human demons, Shikoku welcomes the complexity they bring to the plan. Back at the dorm, after concluding her meeting with Kyoka, Tenka casually asks her to lend Yuki to be her slave, surprising Kyoka. Tenka states that her life has grown unbearably dull, and she seeks relief from that emptiness by making Yuki her personal source of comfort and pleasure after exhausting days. In exchange, she offers her full support for Kyoka's promotion to Supreme Commander by promising her vote, but Kyoka remains unmoved, refusing to compromise her principles and her member. She intends to reach her ambitions through her own strength rather than relying on trade-offs or shortcuts. When the meeting concludes, Tenka casually implies her desire to spend private time with Yuki regardless, an act that visibly irritates Kyoka. On the way back to the dorm, Kyoka explains the situation to Yuki and Himari. Yuki processes the revelation in shock, realizing that Tenka wants him for herself as a personal toy for her frustrations. The thought unsettles him deeply, especially since his responsibilities to the 7th Squad dorm already consume most of his time, leaving him little room for personal freedom. Later that night, while the girls occupy the bath, Yuki lies restless on his bed. Confusion consumes him as he struggles to understand why someone as powerful and beautiful as Tenka would seek someone like him. He longs to become a hero in his own right, not a mere plaything for someone else's amusement. Just then, a sudden flash of a purple portal opens in his room without warning. Tenka steps through uninvited, and Yuki freezes, startled by her sudden intrusion, especially after Kyoka's earlier warning. Tenka closes the distance between them slowly, her overwhelming presence pressing down on him, and she tells him that wants him as her boyfriend, not slave. Her gaze locks onto his, unyielding, and she leans closer until the tension becomes unbearable. Without hesitation, she presses her lips against his, and she slides her coat from her shoulders, her intentions clear as she wants him to progress the plot with her. Yuki hesitates, and asks her to give him time to think, but his decision only amuses her further. Suddenly, the door bursts open without warning. Shushu steps inside, only to freeze instantly at the unfolding scene. Within moments, Yuki and Tenka find themselves dragged to the living room, where Kyoka awaits with a piercing glare. The atmosphere grows tense as Kyoka confronts Tenka with silent authority. Tenka, unbothered and unapologetic, states her intent to claim Yuki. Kyoka stands firm and tells Tenka to go home, but before she does, she tells Yuki she wants him badly before opening a portal and departs, leaving Yuki flustered and breathless. The following morning, Kyoka gathers Yuki and the others for a new phase of training. The squad listens intently, uncertain of the process, but Kyoka recalls the moment Himari rode Yuki during battle, noting the dramatic shift in his attributes. To investigate further, she plans to test his compatibility with different members. Mech volunteers first. Climbing onto Yuki's back, she pulls his chain, triggering an immediate transformation into a form Kyoka names the Shining Star. Yuki's body radiates a blinding glow, and he begins testing his newfound abilities. Though his physical strength is weaker than when paired with Himari, his sensory perception heightens dramatically. His vision sharpens to near-perfect precision, but he starts tweaking when his new ability gives him accidental fan service, which any cultured men would want. He quickly disengages the ability, feeling flustered, but Kyoka recognizes the immense potential of this form for detecting hidden Shukis. The transformation strain soon takes its toll, forcing Yuki back into his normal state. Nei impulsively rewards him with a gentle kiss on the cheek before stepping aside. Seeing this, Shushu also wants to reward him, maybe even giving him a more plotful reward. So before Yuki can recover, Shushu eagerly demands her turn. Kyoka hesitates but allows it under strict caution. Upon linking with Yuki, Shushu grants him the Ibatushi form, increasing his strength significantly, but at the cost of considerable speed, making the form impractical for certain battles. Attempting to enhance his abilities further, Shushu activates her paradigm shift, but instead of empowering Yuki, her own body enlarges into a towering form. Seeing this, Kyoka tells Shushu that Yuki is useless with her as a partner, so they shouldn't ever combine again. Though slightly disappointed, she carries Yuki with care, returning him safely to rest. Kyoka decides to prioritize Nei's form for future strategies, but before training can continue, Nei rushes off to school. Yuki, still puzzled by Nei's dual life, accompanies her part of the way. During their walk, Nei reveals her parents' disappearance during a Mato mishap, the authorities' declaration of their deaths, and her unyielding belief that they still live somewhere. Yuki finds himself relating her determination to his own search for his missing sister. Meanwhile, Kyoka meets Tenka for lunch, and their discussion drifts toward the Supreme Commander, who is reportedly negotiating directly with the Shukis in hopes of resolving the ongoing Mato crises. Kyoka views this as dangerous, distrusting the Shukis' motives entirely. Tenka informs her of an upcoming conference where all commanders will be summoned, and pledges full support to Kyoka's 7th squad, which Kyoka happily accepts. Later, Kyoka returns to the dorm with Tenka, startling Yuki upon arrival. While Yuki fetches drinks for their guest, Tenka subtly teases him, causing discomfort for both Nei and Kyoka. Before tensions rise further, an emergency alarm shatters the moment, as multiple gates have opened across Mato, signaling an imminent threat. Yuki, Kyoka, and Tenka rush toward the battlefield, where Himari and Shushu are already engaged in combat. Tenka offers her assistance, but Kyoka refuses, determined to prove Yuki's loyalty and strength alongside her. As Yuki transforms, he immediately senses Kyoka's heightened tension, and she reminds him that he is her slave, and no one else is. Together, their attacks synchronize perfectly, overwhelming even Tenka and Shushu with their seamless coordination. The battle escalates as a modified Shuki emerges, unlike any they have faced before. Kyoka slices the creature cleanly in half, only for it to regenerate instantly, shocking the entire squad. Forced to adapt, Kyoka and Yuki combine their power, unleashing the Mighty Blade Cross technique. The devastating strike obliterates the mutated Shuki entirely. From a hidden vantage point, Shikoku observes the clash alongside Joryu. Fascinated by humanity's unexpected adaptability, Shikoku studies their performance closely while doubting their long-term survival. After the battle, Yuki reflects on Kyoka's relentless training methods and realizes her strict discipline pushed him to exceed his limits. Kyoka, satisfied with his growth, allows herself a faint smile. Meanwhile, Tenka contemplates Yuki's potential with a smirk, as for the first time in years, excitement stirs within her heart. Yuki and Kyuko advance through the battlefield, their blades cutting down the remaining Shukis one by one until none are left standing. As the dust settles, Kyuko places a gentle hand on Yuki's head. A rare gesture of silent approval and pride swells within him, thinking that one day he can be strong and save her. For his reward, driven by a longing for deeper recognition, Yuki lifts her up like a princess, and Kyuko instead leans forward and presses a soft kiss to him, offering a reward more precious than words. The two return to the dormitory, where the group share tea together. Kyuko regards Yuki with pride in front of the others, and the room fills with warmth until Tenka pops up unannounced. She rests her hand on Yuki's head without hesitation, and praises him for his amazing abilities, a gesture that stirs visible irritation in Shushu. While a playful scuffle follows, Kyaoka can only watch in annoyance, which Yuki notices. Reluctantly, Yuki recalls his childhood when Yuki faced off against some bullies, but his sister pulled up and beat them up, which encouraged Yuki to do the same. Seeing that, his sister hugged him, proud to see him so strong. The girls listen in silence, absorbing each detail of his past and the influence his sister has had on his character. Once her curiosity is satisfied, Tenka departs, leaving behind a quiet room. Yuki, drained from both battle and memory, seizes the chance to rest. Suddenly, Nei stiffens, her sharp senses detecting a disturbance within Mato, and the shift in her expression warns the group instantly. Kyuko reacts without hesitation, signaling Shushu and Himari to move out. The two set off in their car, arriving just in time to intercept a girl in a yellow raincoat cornered by Shuki's. Himari approaches carefully, but before she can offer reassurance, the girl strikes without warning. A devastating punch sends Himari reeling backward, forcing her to block at the last second. The girl shrugs off her raincoat, revealing herself as Koko, a humanoid Shuki, and her intent to destroy the demon defense force radiating through her aura. Himari regains her footing swiftly, matching Koko's speed and strength blow for blow. Himari then stops the battle and tells her how humans want to negotiate with them, but her opponent shows no interest in diplomacy. With no room for negotiation, Himari and Shushu engage in a fierce battle. As the clash intensifies, Koko grows increasingly impressed by Himari's adaptability, her attacks growing sharper in response. Meanwhile, Shushu clears waves of regular Shukis, unaware until too late that one of them, Ooba, is another humanoid Shuki hidden among the chaos. Elsewhere, Yuki finishes his bath and he feels prude that he's slowly turning into a Chad with his physique. The brief calm is broken when Kyuko strides in unannounced, urgently informing him of the ongoing battle. And without hesitation, Yuki suits up. Together, they sprint into the fray, their arrival marked by the clash of steel and howls of monstrous creatures. Amid the chaos, Kyuko notices a familiar figure watching silently from a distance, Aoba, observing like a phantom in the mist. The confrontation escalates when Aoba bites into a peculiar peach, her power surging instantly as an unnatural glow surrounds her. With a single command, she forces Yuki's body into stillness, his limbs locked against his will. The squad reels from shock, and Kyuko, recognizing the overwhelming danger, is forced to retreat. Aoba steps forward with unnerving composure, declaring the mission complete as Yuki is seized. The realization strikes like lightning that the entire battle was orchestrated to abduct him. Himari and Shushu demand to continue fighting, but Kyuko overrides them, commanding a retreat to regroup and prepare for the conflicts ahead. Yuki awakens later in an unfamiliar room, his body weak from the battle, and a strange sound reaches his ears. Turning his head, he finds Koko tending to him by licking him from top to bottom. Confusion and unease clash within him, but before he can react, Aoba, his sister, steps forward. When she sees what Koko is doing, Aoba attacks her, demanding an explanation. But Naan intervenes, halting further conflict, and explains Koko's healing nature, her saliva functioning as a natural restorative. Hearing that explanation, Yuki realizes that all of his wounds are gone, while Aoba proudly thanking and acknowledging Koko's aid while pampering her all around. Seeing that, Yuki recognizes Aoba as his sister, and Aoba quickly hugs him for the first time in years, leaving Yuki in tears. Later, dressed in clean clothes, Yuki follows Aoba through the hidden sanctuary she now calls home, a secluded village thriving deep within Mato's wilderness. The community sustains itself independently, untouched by the Demon Defense Force's influence, and free from dependence on Mato's peaches. As they walk, Aoba introduces Koko and Naan as hybrids, which is half human, half monster, while clarifying that their souls remain entirely human despite their altered forms. The transformation, she explains, stems from an accident long ago. For now, Yuki is granted freedom within the village. Despite his gratitude, he pleads for them to consider a truce with the Demon Defense Force, but his hopes are met with rejection. To them, the organization is an enemy that cannot be trusted, and in that moment, Yuki truly senses the bloodlust coming from them. Aoba, sensing the tension, gently shifts the topic, praising his growth and resilience while silently admiring how far he has come. Nearby, Naan and Koko exchange subtle glances, both realizing that Yuki is not fully on their side. Suddenly, Yuki's hunger betrays him with a low rumble. Aoba departs briefly to prepare food, leaving him in Koko and Naan's care. Curious about the village's unique resources, Yuki observes Koko chewing a peculiar Mato mushroom. When he leans closer to examine it, an unexpected hallucination overtakes him, vivid images of endless steaming meat buns flooding his senses. In an instant, he tries to eat all of the meat buns, and when Aoba returns, she's confused on what is happening. She guides him to a quiet cliffside, where the wind carries the scent of Mato's wilderness. There, Aoba explains that her power originates entirely from within herself, and that Mato's peaches are what started her transformation. Back at the dormitory, Himari tends to Shushu's wounds while Nei confesses her inability to locate Yuki, even after contacting other squads. Worry spreads like wildfire, though Kyuko isolates herself, locking her door as the weight of Yuki's capture presses heavily upon her. Despite the Supreme Commander's strict orders forbidding engagement with humanoid Shukis, Kyuko refuses to remain silent. In the solitude of her room, she contemplates Yuki's bond with her, and a sudden realization seizes her. She rushes downstairs where the others wait, and her instincts guide her with unshakable certainty that she senses Yuki's existence, her body responding to the faint connection that links them. Through this bond, she has become a living beacon, capable of tracking him across Mato. Driven by unyielding resolve, Kyuko organizes the squad swiftly, assigning Nei to remain behind and prepare for the worst, while the others ready themselves for departure. Just as the team steadies for their mission, a shimmering portal blooms before them, its edges rippling like liquid light. From within, Tenka steps forth alongside her allies, prepared to lend their full strength to rescue Yuki, and the group head out. Aoba prepares to explain to Yuki how she became a Shuuki hybrid within Mato, but Naon intervenes, insisting on telling her own story first, even though it is deeply traumatic. Naon begins by recalling her past as a model, one who longed for beauty and struggled with the inevitability of age. Her life changes forever when she experiences a Mato mishap. In desperation, she consumes a Mato peach, seeking survival. The peach grants her power, but at a devastating cost. Her body and face are transformed. Surrounded by Shukis, she fights with her newfound strength, defeating them before collapsing from exhaustion. When she awakens, she finds herself in a Shuki research facility within Mato. An elderly woman informs her of her altered condition, though the explanation only confuses her further, and at that time she does not yet understand that she has become a humanoid Shuki. When the woman asks her to cooperate as a research subject to find a cure for Mato mishaps, Naon is horrified. Realizing her body has been irreversibly changed, and that she is now treated as a test subject, she breaks down in tears. Yuki listens in disbelief as Naon shares her backstory. She then explains that she eventually discovered a unique ability, the power to travel through objects. That gift enables her escape, along with her companions. Coco follows with her own account, revealing that most of them share similar experiences, though with different escapes. Aoba's story, she explains, is even harsher. After consuming a peach, she nearly loses herself completely, succumbing to the madness of a Shuki. For years, she has struggled against the urges threatening to erase her humanity. Only after regaining control does she find Naon, Coco, and the other hidden villagers. This, Coco says, is why she is determined to protect Yuki. Hearing this, Yuki insists that their stories must be told to the world, but Aoba dismisses the idea as pointless. She argues that the yin-yang dorm benefits too much from Mato to give it up, despite having the power to shut it down. The very existence of hybrids like them, she claims, is proof of that corruption. Coco, unwilling to hold back, declares that they should storm the yin-yang dorm, destroy it, and rescue their comrades. Suddenly, Shukis emerge around them, startling Yuki. Calmly, Aroba and the others introduce their personal Shukis, each stronger than the average kind. Naon assures Yuki that they are always prepared to launch an assault on the yin-yang dorm. Yuki tries to reason with them, suggesting that the Demon Defense Force would revolt if they knew the truth. But Aoba reveals she already has a plan, claiming even the Supreme Commander is aware of the dorm's corruption. Her words ignite the group with determination to strike. Yuki urges them to wait, insisting that Kyuko will support their cause. Yet Aoba does not hear him, but her senses suddenly sharpen, and she detects something approaching. With a commanding voice, she orders her people to move as planned. Meanwhile, Kyuko, Tenka, and the others arrive outside the hidden village. Kyuko explains that her body is guiding her, pulling her toward Yuki's presence within a cave. She instructs the team to prioritize rescuing Yuki and avoid unnecessary combat, as they lack permission from the Supreme Commander. However, she grants permission to fight if the humanoid Shukis attack first. Tenka smiles faintly, remarking that Kyuko now understands the pain of almost losing someone. Without warning, Shukis erupt from the ground. Yachiho reacts instantly, activating her Golden Time ability to skip 5 seconds into the future, obliterating them effortlessly. The ground then shakes violently as Coco and her giant Kuma arrive, tearing open an entrance to the cave. Kyuko quickly assigns Shushu and Sahara to engage Coco, while she and the others head inside to save Yuki. Within the cave, the group marvels at its scale, seeing an undiscovered network even their exploration teams have never charted. As Tenka prepares to open a portal to advance deeper, Naon's Shuki materializes to block their path. Himari and Yachiho step forward, insisting on handling the battle while Kyuko and Tenka press forward. Yachiho grins with anticipation, thrilled to fight alongside her sister Himari. Deeper within, Yuki remains with Aoba until Kyuko and Tenka confront them. Aoba attempts to reason with them, but her temper flares as she witnesses Tenka effortlessly teleport Yuki to safety. Fueled by anger, Aoba prepares to attack. Kyuko relocates Yuki to a safer chamber within the hidden village. Once there, she leans toward him, eager to give him a reward for his survival. She begins by sucking gently on his fingers, a gesture that makes Tenka avert her gaze in discomfort. Yet she soon joins in, licking Yuki's fingers alongside Kyuko. Before the moment continues further, Aoba storms in, furious at the sight, and interrupts. She lunges at them, but Yuki intercepts her, pleading for calm. Back at the dormitory, Nei busies herself preparing food and futons for Yuki and the others' return. Though unease gnaws at her, she forces optimism, tidying every corner of the dorm in anticipation. Meanwhile, Shushu and Sahara attempt to reason with Coco, but Coco, resolute, insists on fighting. Given no choice, they accept the challenge. The battle begins, unaware that Juryu observes from the shadows, having tracked their location. Yuki seizes the moment to speak, and he asks Aoba to stop and allow him to share her story with Kyuko and Tenka. After hearing Yuki recount his sister's past, Kyuko expresses a willingness to aid Aoba in destroying the yin-yang dorm, provided her story proves true. But Aoba rejects the offer outright, declaring she will harm anyone, commander or ally, who tries to interfere. Kyuko turns to Yuki, affirming that if Aoba persists, she will fight her, as is the duty of the Demon Defense Force. Aoba responds by binding Yuki with her ability and summoning her Unihorn Shuki to battle Kyuko, while she herself challenges Tenka. Before the duel begins, Tenka introduces herself and mockingly refers to Aoba as her sister-in-law, which infuriates her. Outside, Coco overwhelms Sahara with her speed and raw strength. Sahara finds openings to counter, but Coco's movements are slippery, making her strikes ineffective. Just as Sahara is nearly consumed by Coco's Shuki, Shushu intervenes, saving her. Shushu tries to crush the creature but finds its resilience unmatched. Coco taunts them, declaring herself their worst opponent, one whose abilities render them powerless. Elsewhere, Himari and Yachiho continue battling Naon's Shuki. Finally fed up, Yachiho activates Golden Time, halting time itself and shooting the Shuki with ease. Yet before falling, the creature lashes out, tearing Yachiho's clothes from her body. Embarrassed but relieved at her victory, Yachiho is caught off guard when she realizes Himari is cornered by Naan herself. From her hidden vantage, Juryu departs quickly, racing back to report to Shikoku. At her base, Shikoku dons her garments and declares that the time has come to introduce themselves to Aoba and the others as their gods. Meanwhile, Nei stands before the dormitory, her duty uniform crisp, hands clasped tightly as she silently prays for Yuki and the others' safe return. In the depths of the hidden village, chaos consumes the battlefield. Aoba unleashes blinding beams of concentrated light, forcing Kyuko and Tenka to weave and twist to avoid disintegration. Yuka, trapped within reach, struggles desperately to untie the ribbon at Arata's collar, knowing it is the key to breaking her control. Kyuko steadies her thoughts through her ritual of calm, but the weight of Yuka's absence gnaws at her focus, draining her strength. Her blade moves nonetheless, relentless as it carves into the unicorn's armored hide. Every strike reverberates through her arms, yet retreat is unthinkable. While Kyuko battles the beast, Tenka confronts Aoba directly. Aoba charges with monstrous speed, her movements sharpened by murderous precision. Yet Tenka evades, not through instinct alone but through mastery, as her teleportation extending beyond singular flashes, chaining hundreds of instantaneous shifts in succession. Aoba, frustrated, bites into a peach, her aura swelling violently as her strength surges. Her hair lashes like blades. Lasers ignite from her mouth, and her speed blurs beyond perception. Tenka steels herself, fully aware of the danger but unwilling to yield. As commander, she reveals her hidden edge, rapid-fire teleportation, layer upon layer, faster than Arata's enhanced sight can track. Aoba, undeterred, alters her strategy, pressing the attack to exhaust Tenka's stamina, knowing even her gift has limits. Elsewhere, Sahara and Shushu clash against Koko and her colossal Shuki. The beast towers, scales gleaming like steel, a nightmare pulled from Mato's darkest memory. Shushu recognizes it instantly, as it's the same Shuki that wrought disaster years ago, its hide infamous for resisting annihilation. Koko laughs, mocking their futile strikes, her regenerative power mending wounds as fast as they form. Her taunts cut deep, revealing intentions darker than victory alone, the complete destruction of the yin-yang dorm. Shushu, humiliated and furious, signals Formation S. Koko braces for a devastating technique, only to watch Sahara seize the shrunken Shushu and launch her straight into the Shuki's body. Expanding mid-flight, Shushu erupts within the beast, tearing it apart from the inside. Before Koko can react, Sahara wrenches a fang from the fallen monster and drives it deep into her. Koko collapses, choking on her own blood, yet struggles to regenerate using her saliva. From the surrounding shadows, fresh Shukis emerge. Sahara, drained from battle, falters, leaving Shushu to stand alone against the advancing horde. Deep inside the hidden village, another clash unfolds. Himari staggers, pierced by Naon's blade, her blood staining the cavern floor. Yachiho reacts instantly, invoking her primetime ability to rewind reality and undo the fatal strike. But Naon adapts, striking from unpredictable angles, forcing Yachiho to burn her power repeatedly until exhaustion creeps closer with each reset. Himari recovers, cutting through lesser Shukis in a frenzy. But Yachiho warns her that the strain on her ability risks collapse. Himari refuses retreat. Her grin widens, wild and unrestrained, as her body transforms. Her hair reshapes into gleaming cannons, her frame armored with unearthly brilliance, a metamorphosis born from her time in the Demon Defense Force. Yachiho watches in awe as Himari fires a devastating barrage, blasting apart the cavern and exposing Naon's hidden position. Yachiho freezes Naon's movement with precise rewinds, granting Himari the opening to obliterate Naon's Shuki and wound her deeply. Naon, staggering and defeated, whispers of returning to Aoba, but Himari denies her mercy. Flames of resolve burn behind her gaze, unshaken even as Yachiho offers sanctuary. Himari has changed and become something more dangerous than Yachiho can comprehend. At the main battlefront, Tenka blinks in and out of existence, teleporting relentlessly as she sets her trap. The moment Aoba overextends, Tenka corners her, granting Kyuko an opening to strike. Aoba reels but recovers instantly, her power undiminished. Tenka counters with Omno Mitori, dragging Aoba into her grip, yet hesitates to harm her, unable to wound Yuki's sister. That hesitation costs her. A laser tears through Tenka's side, sending her crashing beside Yuki. Bleeding and breathless, Tenka warns Yuki of Aoba's escalating strength, admitting she held back out of compassion. The confession unsettles Arata, her fury warring with an unfamiliar flicker of emotion she cannot suppress. While Arata falters, Kyuko capitalizes, pressing forward with renewed ferocity. Before the momentum shifts, Koko and Naon stagger into view, broken and defeated. Moments later, Shushu, Sahara, Himari, and Yachiho arrive, regrouping at Yuki's side. Surrounded and outmatched, Aoba stands defiant, refusing surrender until the yin-yang dorm lies in ruins. Then, the battlefield changes. The cavern ceiling splits open, light cascading down as a divine presence descends. Joryu arrives, Shikoku at her side. Naon and Koko are seized effortlessly, stripped of their agency in a single motion. Shikoku steps forward, her voice cold and commanding. She rejects any association with Koko, or the lesser Shukis, declaring her true identity, the 8th Thunder God, sovereign ruler of all Shukis within Mato. The weight of her name freezes Yuki and Kyuko in place. To demonstrate her supremacy, Shikoku annihilates Koko's broken Shuki with a casual flicker of power. Then, without mercy, she reaches into Aoba's bond and tears it apart. Aoba's Shuki twists violently as its allegiance is severed and reforged under Shikoku's will, transforming into a monstrous abomination. The beast roars and lunges for its former master. Aoba freezes, horror carved into her face. At that instant, Yuki erupts in radiant light, transforming as Kyuko leaps onto his back. Together they charge, striking at the rampaging Shuki to shield Aoba from annihilation. Back at the dorm, Nei's sensors flare with sudden energy spikes. The readings sharpen happen, revealing the impossible, as Yuki and the others now stand before Shikoku herself. A cold dread grips her heart as she realizes the scale of the enemy they face. Years ago, Kayuko lived peacefully in her hometown, believing she would remain an ordinary girl forever. That illusion shattered when a Mato mishap devastated her town, leaving behind trauma and loss she would carry for life. From that day forward, she vowed to grow stronger, dedicating herself to becoming someone who could protect others where no one had been able to protect her. Now, years later, Yuki and Kyuko face Aoba's monstrous Shuki in a desperate battle. The beast towers before them, its attacks relentless and precise. Yuki struggles against its crushing strength but refuses to retreat. Summoning every ounce of resolve, he lunges forward and sinks his teeth into its sharp arm, tearing through its carapace. The act, reckless yet fearless, impresses even Shikoku, who observes silently from a distance. Yuki's attack buys Kyuko a fleeting opening, an opportunity she refuses to waste. Fueled by rage and determination, Kyuko channels every memory of her destroyed hometown into her blade. Her movements sharpen, her strikes deliberate and unrelenting, carrying the weight of her years of training. Yuki restrains the Shuki with chains forged by his ability, binding its limbs and forcing it still. With the path cleared, Kyuko launches forward and unleashes the culmination of her power. A decisive slash so precise and forceful it cleaves the beast cleanly in half. The battlefield falls silent. Yuki and the others watch in awe as the lifeless body of the Shuki collapses. Shikoku, witnessing Kyuko's display of strength, retreats into the shadows. Yet as she departs, her gaze lingers, not on Kyuko, but on Yuki. Kyuko raises her blade high, dedicating the victory to the memory of her destroyed hometown. She calls upon Yuki to gather the others, determined to regroup and secure their position. Yuki's focus, however, shifts immediately to his sister, Ahoba, who lies injured nearby. Though shaken, Ahoba reassures him she is fine, redirecting her concern toward her friends Nan and Koko. She insists on rescuing them, unwilling to abandon anyone left behind. Kyuko pledges her protection without hesitation, and Tenka joins in, vowing to aid Awoba's cause and prevent interference from the Yin-Yang dorm. But Awoba refuses to involve the Demon Defense Force, distrusting the Supreme Commander's ruthlessness. Tenka quietly confirms her fears, revealing that the commander would likely have Awoba eliminated if given the chance. Kyuko advises Aoba to remain hidden, warning her that the incident will inevitably reach the commander's ears and could lead to relentless pursuit. Understanding the danger, Awoba agrees to take her people into hiding, promising to bide her time and keep her forces safe, while Kyuko promises to investigate the Yin-Yang dorm personally to ensure Awoba's protection. Yuki, Kyuko, and Tenka return to the dorm, where Nei greets them with relief. She informs Kyuko that Shushu and Himari are recovering and will return in a few days. Tenka departs soon after, declining Yuki's offer of immediate reward, choosing instead to wait until her recovery is complete. Inside the dorm, Kyuko instructs Yuki to stay alert for any follow-up attacks, then heads to bathe and recover. Meanwhile, Nei prepares clothing for Shushu and Himari, but notices Yuki's troubled expression. She comforts him quietly, and when his stomach growls, she serves him a warm meal prepared for everyone. Yuki eats in silence, his thoughts racing. Soon after, Kyuko emerges from her bath and, seeing his lingering tension, decides to ease his stress in her own way. She leads him to her room, where she sheds her clothes, revealing her chosen method of rewarding him for his efforts. Yuki blushes deeply as she closes the distance, and they begin to kiss, heat and nervousness intertwining. Teasing him, Kyuko calls him a simp and locks him in a playful submission hold, declaring herself his master. Her jealousy surfaces as she complains about his loyalty to Ahoba, irritated that he listens to his sister more than to her. Conflicted and overwhelmed, Yuki eventually taps out and chooses to sleep instead. Disappointed yet affectionate, Kyuko embraces him softly, whispering promises of greater rewards in the future. Elsewhere, in Shikoku's palace, the atmosphere darkens. Koko and Naan are fed to a newborn divine entity, their bodies merged into something unholy. Yuryu questions Shikoku's methods, but she dismisses his concerns, explaining that the being must be nurtured. It is destined to become her strongest comrade, a godlike ally to serve their empire for eternity. The next day, Yuki and his companions celebrate their hard-earned victory. Yuki prepares a lavish feast, delighting everyone gathered. Tenka arrives eager to taste his cooking, having heard rumors of his skill. Before Yuki can deliver a speech as the battle's leader, Shushu silences him impatiently, diving into the food and setting off laughter across the table. The celebration swells with warmth. Himari shares tender moments with Yachiho. Shushu bonds with Sahara, and Tenka persists in teasing Kyuko, pressing her to share Yuki with her. Shushu and Himari, freshly discharged from the hospital, warmly welcome Yuki home, moving him deeply with their affection. That night, Yuki retreats to his room, where he finds a small sticker left by Aoba. Holding it, he recalls their last moments together. After defeating Ahoba's Shuki, Kyuko had vowed to rise to the position of Supreme Commander, promising to dismantle the Yin-Yang dorm, free Arata from control, and find a cure to restore her. Relieved, Ahoba entrusted Yuki to Kyuko's care. As the hidden village collapsed around them, Yuki had confessed his long-held dream to be Ahoba's hero. Smiling softly, Ahoba urged him to find the cure on her behalf. From that moment on, Yuki's purpose shifted. No longer chasing the vague ideal of heroism, he committed himself to saving his sister. The following morning, Yuki awakens to find Tenka perched on top of him, demanding the humping-related reward she has been waiting for. Before anything can happen, Yuko bursts into the room furious and orders Tenka to leave, citing urgent responsibilities. Frustrated with Yuki, Yuko subjects him to strict training before allowing him any rest. Later, Himari approaches Yuki for help strengthening her Peach's blessing. Determined to grow grow more capable and earn her place by Kyuko's side. Nearby, Nei notices Shushu smiling faintly to herself, reflecting on quiet lessons about love she learned during her hospital stay. Shushu acknowledges inwardly that many girls care deeply for Yuki, deciding she will wait for the right time to pursue him. Their quiet moment is interrupted when Nei detects a sudden surge of energy. A new gate has opened nearby. The squad mobilizes immediately. Himari and Shushu speed ahead to clear the path, while Kyuko and Yuki prepare for direct engagement. Before setting off, Yuki kneels and kisses Kyuko's hand, reaffirming his pledge of servitude. Power floods through him as his slave form manifests, and Kyuko mounts him, the two becoming a seamless force. Together, they tear through the approaching Shuki, carving through their ranks with brutal efficiency before slicing a massive one cleanly in half. This victory marks the beginning of Kyuko's ascent toward becoming Supreme Commander, and Yuki's transformation into the hero he has resolved to be. Unseen in the distance, Aoba watches from the shadows. Seeing her brother thriving alongside Kyuko, she feels relieved but cannot rest. Quietly, she prays for Koko and Naan, vowing to rescue them from the Empire's grasp. Comment down below, plotful reward if you watch till the end, subscribe so you don't miss the next video.